as I am live.
And I am scared.
Let's
play a game together. That was my friend Patty going.
Don't talk while the timer's going. It's fine.
All right.
All right. So we are apparently learning that one dragon prince can scold and punish another for
which is new.
reasons.
For reasons.
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 Reasons. That chocolate shoe. Oh, sorry. Anyway,
Because nobody can
that
ever. This is the thing that bugs me, though. Again, people lacking imagination. Period. Of going like, you only go at night because it's to bone. I'm like, how do you know? During the day with Dylan out on his magical picnic, you can go bone. With Rye out on his magical light string, you can bone. I'm like, you're all ridiculous.
With Phoenix for ice cream in the kitchen, you're gonna bone.
Right? I'm like, why else do you think that, like, I'm assuming, why else do you think that Small basically slapped, Rye for coming in through the bedroom window kind of thing, and I took you to bed, was, because you could bone. I'm like, this is silly.
It doesn't have to be one at night or two at a hotel, or he literally could have been like, it'll be a daytime date, we'll go to a love hotel.
Right.
And bone.
I'm like, yeah, you guys.
Again, the primary problem that I have, and I've been sitting on this for a couple of days, but so you probably are just from video to video, so I apologize. It's just they've literally already spent a whole night together for the date that Phoenix planned, and if the other two boys did not have a problem with this, going, are you okay? Totally checking with Small in the morning, going, did you survive the sleeping with Phoenix date? Because we knew that's what it was, and that's what it was.
It still is really annoying, honestly, and you pointed it out before, it is genuinely, they've already been on a date where it was at night and they both slept.
It was a sleepover.
Yes.
So they've already had a sleepover. Why is this different?
Yeah,
anyway,
why is this unique?
I feel like they needed to do something different with this, or not have the first date be a sleepover. So anyway, it's fine. Unless they're basically trying to just communicate how hyper overreacting all the dragons are, how much stress and anxiety they're all getting into, except for Phoenix, of course. How much stress and anxiety 2 out of 3 of them are getting into, and going, we're not going to overreact and be totally different to things, because we're both going, our life will be a nightmare without you.
Yeah, which is, again,
no pressure though.
No pressure though. No,
all right.
hashtag no pressure though.
I'm starving, actually. Let's go get something to eat. Because, I don't eat enough lately at all.
All right. What do you feel like having?
Eggs?
And meat?
Oh, breakfast hot dog. You are a girl after my own heart.
Oh, wow.
Like,
that actually was so disorienting for 2 seconds. I went, dang. But also, I love that. So there was this wonderful thing where somebody was discussing, actually, they were like, I can't figure out what the hell to eat for breakfast. I hate breakfast. Breakfast is the worst thing ever. And they were talking to their therapist, and their therapist was like, why don't you try eating what you would like to eat for breakfast?
So they had, until they were like 25 or some years old, basically gone, all that breakfast is pancakes, eggs, bacon or sausage, or oatmeal, and they'd made themselves force down oatmeal if they could a lot of times, or just be hungry and unhappy, or force down eggs, because all of those foods they hated and made them feel very uncomfortable.
Right.
And their therapist was literally just like, you can eat anything for breakfast.
Right.
And they'd gotten to that age in their life without anyone ever letting them know that you don't have to have breakfast food for breakfast. And they're like, but it's breakfast. And they're like, eat anything.
So it's one of those cool things. So I know sometimes some people don't think about it, but if you ever learn how to make your own food, particularly if you learn how to make it early, you can make yourself whatever the fuck you want, for the most part. I know sometimes people's families, they will go, this food is specifically for this time of day, blah, 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 whatever. But really it's like, hey, I'll make my own food kind of thing. Can I make this thing?
Right.
Like, clarifying, because there is other people you have to consider in that case, and I totally understand it.
But if you're out on your own, or you're an adult,
you can make whatever the hell you want. You can have ice cream for the next 6 days straight. I'm not necessarily saying it might not be the best for you. I'm not going to insist that it will be, because I always feel that to be very frustrating. It's like,
however, many people, and they have found even through studies, if they're eating what makes them happy, and by that I mean it produces a happy experience of them of going, this food makes me feel good. Generally their body feels good. Right. Now when people go, but if I eat what I like, then I hate it because I feel so guilty. That's not making you feel good. That's making you feel guilty after it makes you feel good. Right. But if you're like, God, I just wanted pizza for breakfast. I was so happy I ate pizza for breakfast. I went out, I had a great day, and then I had also pizza for lunch. It was so good.
It was fabulous.
That's totally different than I ate ice cream for breakfast, and then I told myself I need to work it off and do something to earn it back.
Right.
Then going, it just made me feel happy to have ice cream for breakfast. I had a fabulous ice cream sundae for breakfast, and my day was glorious.
Right.
Like, there's a difference. But when food contributes to your joy,
Right.
that your body reacts completely differently to it. Nutritionists have studied this, doctors have studied this, they've done it in labs and things like that. God, it is a difference between, does the food make you feel happy or not?
Right.
Anyway, so there's this wonderful little post on Tumblr that I ran into one time where you have somebody and they're describing as an adult living out, in the world, like I was standing in front of my freezer at 3 a.m. trying to decide between having a red popsicle and a blue popsicle. And I'm just standing there deliberating over this. And finally I realized I am an adult. I can have both.
I love that.
It's so good. But the thing is, sometimes, again, you don't realize what kind of habits, behaviors, or choices you're doing, having, or making because you haven't examined them, or you haven't had basically help to examine them. Sometimes you don't know what you're assuming until you run into it. Like sometimes Scandal or I will say something, and then we look at, and the other one looks at us, and we realize what it was, or you even look at ourselves basically going, wait, do I really think that?
Right.
Because I've never tried to put it into words before, and in this moment, since I'm talking, I had to.
Right.
So if you find yourself struggling with something, see if you can put some words around it, figure out what the struggle is, and then give yourself some more permission.
There's also that thing too that honestly you do not need to know the answer immediately. There are some things that definitely, where it's like you can learn and you can grow and you can change your mind. That is a thing that I feel needs to be more acceptable, which is one of the reasons why I've never really enjoyed sometimes where people are like, you've said one wrong thing. It means inherently that you've always meant this or you've always wanted to do it. And
at one point in your life you said this.
Right.
Therefore it is you for the rest of existence.
Right.
I've had that problem before where I've been like, in this moment, I really like this thing. 5 years later, it comes up in conversation. Well, she's always really loved this thing, and that's just who she is. And I go, hang on, what? And they're like, yeah, all the time, forever, this thing. I remember you talking about it. That's who you are. And I'm going, I told you that once, like 5 years ago. I don't care. I haven't even thought about it since like 3 months after that.
Right?
Like it was a phase. It was a
passing moment.
Interest.
Like that. That's how that works.
Anyway, so how about a hot dog? I will eat anything for breakfast. It's true, but I do like eggs, so it's an opportunity.
Right?
Also, I like.
You could have egg dogs.
I also like hotel food.
You could have hot dogs cut into eggs.
You could.
Or as a part of like.
Or you could have like your pigs in a blanket hot dog in a pancake with eggs over it.
Ooh, I've had those before. Sometimes those are really good. I hate them though when like they're done by like fast food places. They're really gross.
I say, but for me, I get this excitement of going, hotel food. That's usually nice food because again, I grew up really poor without, hotel food.
And my brain's like, hotel food is not always the best
I know,
food.
right? But this doesn't look like a bad hotel. Honestly.
No, actually, it looks like a fairly nice one.
Like,
so this would be one of those where I'd be like, yes, the classism says that this would be a better, not perfect, but better, in my experience. So actually, the funny thing is that I always thought was really interesting is my friends like, hotel food is really good. And I'm like, even for like the hotels/motels that I tended to go to as a child, like, so my family actually drove across country a lot.
Right.
Ton of long trips in the car kind of thing, right? Because we went to go out from Tennessee most of the time to go visit all of our relatives that lived out in California and Utah. Because big Mormon background, right? So what happened though for us is most of the time we'd ever stop, we'd have a lot of instances actually of sleeping in the van, or we'd actually also go to, cheap motels where it was actually,
because that's not
cheap.
what the money was for.
Yes. Which is very interesting because people pointed out actually when they come over to my house because my mom would be like all the, whatever else. And I'd be like, well, you can't ever do stuff like that. And people would look at me and go, you have
so much more money than we do.
Fucking expensive items you don't even know. And I was like, what? I was like, your mom has like my mom going off about stuff like I didn't even realize that my mom was like I have the Prada purse. That was what my mom had was a Prada purse.
Now a thing, their mom had their priorities in order financially. Going, I know what I want to spend money on and what I don't.
Except they kind of didn't because my dad seemed to be incredibly irritated about it a lot. But that's okay.
Mom knew what mom wanted.
She knew what she wanted, but that doesn't mean that she had the financial thing down. It's okay. I know. What?
It's not why do I assume it's an actual dog? He hasn't had a lot of word mistakes.
No kidding.
I would just be like, it's sausage in a bun. You put ketchup and mustard on it, not an actual dog.
Right? Because a hot dog is a type of sausage.
It's true, but I was just saying, like, it's not an actual dog means maybe his expression was strong. We don't even know if they eat dogs. A lot of people eat dogs.
It's true. It's actually also been the cultural thing. I understand that a lot of people are very uncomfortable with it, but that's also basically a level of privilege that societies, I will say that many societies have been able to engage in of you don't eat the dog.
You don't
But
have
it's also
to eat.
only a privilege if you think that dogs are, I guess, great pets.
Or good things that shouldn't be food.
Right.
I would say, I don't have any, like, strong beliefs, nor will suggest any endorsements on the subject.
Right.
But I do believe that when people are hungry, they will eat.
Yes.
And if a thing is made of food, sometimes you will eat it.
It's true,
Anyway,
actually.
it's not an actual dog, Dylan. Come on, you've got to try one. Also, like, are we just implying that we slept into the afternoon, basically, and we're going lunch?
Whoa,
or is this breakfast?
we're just assuming.
Oh, God.
Oh, wow. So I have to tell you.
Now we are the hot boys setting up a date for
Hey,
him.
baby, too, with everything.
And deciding everything. It's fine.
Use me your sexy voice on me.
I wonder what we know about his food interests and preferences so far. Sometimes,
this is where I'm like, whoa.
Sometimes I watch him, and I think, like vegan or incredibly special, like, either religious or cultural diet or something like that. Because he's very formal, because he's has so many specific rules he follows.
Right? Which, of course, is a level of stereotyping, and I totally get that.
All right. 2 with everything, please.
Dylan
Stares at his hot dog as if it's something alien, which it is, but I don't think about that at all. It's fine. It's got jalapenos, it's got pickled peppers, it's got coleslaw, it's got chili, it's got a ketchup and mustard and ranch sauce, and it's got,
So this
cheese.
sauce is with everything, because
I know that generally with everything, depending on where you are colloquially, it'll have a set of things.
Yes.
And there's special stuff, and usually like chili isn't included in everything. Usually the everything is your sauerkraut, your ketchup, your mustard, your mayo, and your like jalapenos. That's what I'm familiar with.
Okay, I honestly don't know because I never liked a lot of the stuff on.
I say, or if you're in a different place, one with everything is ketchup, mustard, relish, onions.
I know that one. I think that one's actually sounds familiar.
So there's different places.
Because I never
with everything.
I remember, because I never really liked relish a lot. It's actually been a weird transition, and I talked to my friend kind of about it, where I was like, I didn't really like relish.
And as far as I understand, it's actually
because relish is so fucking sweet most of the time.
A lot of times,
it's like putting candy on your hot dog, and I'm like, that just.
I say there are some people that do dill relish, but it's really uncommon. I like that.
Ooh,
because I've never liked sweet pickles very much, and they're just that's
sweet pickles.
But I was just say, as far as I understand,
and that's okay.
Well, a lot of America will put sauerkraut on sausages like bratwurst and stuff, rather than hot dogs. It seems to be a regional exposure to me. Whether your standard like pickled thing that goes on it is either relish or sauerkraut.
Speaking of bratwurst, I remember also so when I moved to Colorado, I'd never really had bratwurst before, and there was always like a level of like association. Again, bratwursts were bad because bratwursts were always exclusively with alcohol.
Oh.
Which was
beer and brats.
Yeah, beer and brats, because that was the thing. But I'm like, it was really funny, actually, also then finally going like, fuck it, I don't care about the alcohol thing anymore, and actually having the beer with the brats, or just having brats on their own, and going, they're actually really good. This is weird of being like,
Anyway. As if it's something alien. It's good. Trust me. I think it's good. It's one of my favorite foods. If I really liked it, you would know that I really like it. But that doesn't mean it'll be good for you. But
also, again, this is where you're going, what does Dylan actually know about small at all? There's also a level of going, like, imagine the level of, like, frustration or anger or maybe, like, a potential, like, self-hate of going, I don't know you well enough, or I don't actually know you.
I worked my entire life to memorize every piece of you that was available to me.
Yeah.
And I keep learning things about you I didn't know. And how much that would be like, I should know that. I should have known that.
Yeah.
But also I'm just staring at his beautiful white gloves and a hot dog with everything.
He's gonna be real skilled at this.
I will be perfection. Uses water magic to hold it together. Everything that has liquid in it sort of slurps gently to the center and piles itself perfectly on top.
You're like, it looks like a Sunday now.
I know.
Everything is balanced amazingly super high.
Pyramid along kind of thing, just lined up. And when he bites it, it stays in that shape. There's a slight shimmer of magic to it.
You're like,
bites into yours, and you have it, plops off, runs on down the side.
I love this part.
I love this part down my chin, across my hands. Where you
Dylan, perfect perfection, this really tall By the way, I love it that somebody broke down. It was like hot dogs or sandwiches, and I was like, yes, so bad.
After a fashion, there.
Yes,
I
like a burrito.
I like the sandwich algorithm.
Yes,
if sandwich is bread outside,
the alignment chart of sandwiches is awesome.
Sandwich insanity and sandwich flexibility, and going this is sandwich, this is not like kind of thing. Going, how crazy are you?
So good.
Dylan takes a bite. I watched the amazing, perfectly arranged toppings that he has, and I'm going, damn, as mine run down my arm.
You're like, but I like it go blum, blum, blum. I'll lick myself.
Just get the napkin, scoop it back in. That's why you have the cardboard tray to just sort of drink it out of it at the end.
Yes!
All right. Chewing thoughtfully.
It's good.
He says to make us feel better. We can hear it in his voice.
We can hear it. But you swear it's not a dog.
How did we know that? Are we actually implying that we know him well enough that when he said what, we really knew he was talking about dog? Also, when have we talked to... He did say he liked dogs instead of cats, remember, way back then? He said,
I don't remember.
I am pretty sure that when there was, this is a cat is a friend, this is what you do with a cat. He said he liked dogs. He said he knows about dogs, didn't he?
Oh, I think you might be right. God, you guys, I'm sorry. It's been a while.
And so that
we're
could
so
have been...
far into this, and there's so much going on, and it's so ridiculous. I'm just like,
I think he actually did say that. And then that would be us actually indicating that we've learned something about him. And when he says a what, we actually remembered something he said. So I think that's there. I'm hoping so, because it would really indicate that Small was paying attention to him, and that's kind of charming.
Right.
I like that. All right. Yes, I promise. It's not a dog, nor is it made out of dog. I take his hand, leaning him over so we can sit on the curb. Oh, God.
Oh, God. In
His
that
perfect
outfit?
white clothing on the city street curb.
Oh, God.
It's fine.
It's fine.
He'll clean it when he stands up.
He will. Why are we eating here?
It's
Again,
regional.
I know everything about you. I know nothing about you. Is that also supposed to be like part of his character, basically, of being like, I know everything about you, but I know nothing, except that he went and he made us an extensive, long list of sandwiches, which are actually really personal and exactly in the way that you like them.
So he wasn't able to watch us at all, or know anything about us. Actually, it was all information that was given to him by some other source. All right, who wants to write the fanfic where the other source fell in love with us because they had to watch us so closely and hang around us all the time?
Right.
And they're just a dragon guard that loves their lord dearly, but has mixed feelings about us because they've been giving him all the information they could acquire.
So, in love with us or in love with Dylan?
That's what I mean. They're completely, it's their poly. They have to be in love with both of us. They did it because it is a thing I do for my master. And then you sort of, the intensity of your master's study and their focus, you start to fall in love basically with both targets.
Okay, because I was like, you lost me.
That's fine,
know how that setup was.
I say, well, I lost it in the middle because I went, if you're doing all that work for them, you're going, shit, I care about
so
both of them.
you changed mid.
I lost it.
That's why it confused me.
When this character showed up in my head, they went, no, I do this out of love for my master, and then I go, but this person, I know so much about them.
And I get to see them, and I get to be involved in their struggles, and I have a more personal
But I have to do it from way the hell back here. I never get to meet them, so I don't get to know weird, things, and I have to figure out what information to give him that's important. I have to decide what's important.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine basically, so they're suffering basically from the problem that anthropology has of only seeing at a distance?
And going,
I am assuming it's all a ritual because it's the only thing I have, and god damn it.
And going, why does she do this? What is that thing? And of course, and you filter it all through, of course she knows she's the Dragon Slayer princess.
Right.
So you have to filter it through that and make it make sense that way.
Oh god, and then also with your own cultural background, so they do talk, again, we've discussed where a lot of historians and a lot of the anthropologists really do struggle with basically personal biases. Hugely, enormously, their own ideas of what gender is, what experience is, whatever.
Or why this might happen.
Yeah, or why this might happen. They go so much through their own cultural experience. It's actually also really interesting to watch, even like listening to the discussions of, U.S. anthropologists where they discuss going to other countries and going like, oh my god, I had no fucking idea. It's like because you are so stuck in your own experience, you don't realize basically how biased you are.
You don't realize what you're assuming. And that you're assuming you have to have breakfast food for breakfast.
This is why to a lot of people, if you know them and you know actual folklorists, people who study folklore from other cultures, they're really offended by the idea of the universal folklore. The idea of the universal story.
They're like, it's so different everywhere. Oh
like,
my God.
that is not how they fucking work.
Anyway.
And I know sometimes I've used it where it's like, you can just find things that are similar. Like, yes, you can see things that are images because people are very good at seeing patterns. That's actually how people function.
We also have a lot of similar things, such as we all live on a ball in space with a sun and stars outside of it.
Shockingly.
So they all have stars in all their myths. Really? How strange.
There's a sun!
They all have myths about the sun.
Yes.
They all have gods of the water. Okay, there's a lot of water,
you
my
need
dude.
water, you die.
You die without water. So you know what? It's suggesting there's a great power and force in water. makes sense for all of us beings
Reasonable.
who need water.
That's actually why I always find that to be really funny, where sometimes people will be like, I'm gonna make up my world building, and it's gonna be about this, and it's gonna be about something no one would ever do, and you're like, you have little to no involvement with this thing. Why the fuck would your fictional
Would it be
culture...
a huge piece of their culture?
Right. It's actually really strange. Like, the fact where people are like, well, because the Aztecs and they had the blood ceremonies in order to bring the sun back. It's all about the sun. And then the fact is, like, it really did come back and going, if we don't do this thing, they will never return. We must support the sun on its journey and be a,
And then you have somebody else going, so I have Aztecs in space, and they're going to do the same things. And you're going, but there's no sun.
Yeah. Like your same sun experience of this rotating star.
And it never goes away because you're all just stars everywhere. Aztecs in space, same rituals.
What?
Why?
Why?
For what purpose?
It's like the same thing, though, with, like, Romans in space. Again, there's a lot of things where I've discussed before of being like, you must be aware of exactly what built those cultures to begin with. Sometimes it's about the food that was available to them, because the food imagery shows up in the stuff that they talk about, or shows up in their culture, or in their worships, or in their processes, or how they operate, or the types of, like, basically the standards for their food will show up. Like, you really need to know what you're, like, basically adapting to make it work in space. I
was going to say, societies and cultures are developed out of basically a lot of necessity from what's available to them.
Yes.
And then you develop culture from those things.
Yes.
Because you develop habits and patterns.
Granted, there are some totally things where people are like, we really don't know why. Like, but that's also because, guess what? You can't just ask them. Like, they probably had a very good and very involved reason for it. And also going, by the way, people do things because they fucking look cool. Yeah. Oh my god, so many people are just like, look badass as hell, so I just put it there, and then somebody who had no context comes along and goes, it's a ritual! It's important! It is this
Can you imagine someone from a distance trying to explain the ritual of drag queens from an anthropological perspective?
Right.
Like, can you imagine them trying to explain what the hair is about, what their clothes is about, what the makeup's about, all this stuff? Going, as an anthropologist with no context, I have to describe why they're doing these things.
Right.
And going...
Honestly, though, part of me is just like a really basic one. Anthropologists trying to explain why we were standing in a closet
right now, yelling at each other.
Yeah, especially like if you don't have the technology access at all. Like, that's what makes it really interesting. But thank you very much, guys, for joining us. If you like what we do, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And also, please feel free to go check out our Ko-Fi and our Patreon if you'd like to support us, or if you just like to go tip us or something like that. It'd be awesome. Cool. And yes, thank you very much for joining us. And I have been Scandal,
and I have been Lies,
and it was great playing with you. Bye.